Travel is supposed to broaden the mind, but for some people, it just stretches the stupidity. 1. The Ice Hotel Genius. There's a hotel in Sweden made entirely of ice. The walls, the bar, even the bed, frozen solid. One guest thought it'd be fun to bring a portable heater to stay cozy. He didn't realize he was basically renting a snow cone and trying to microwave it from the inside. Within an hour, his room turned into a high-end puddle. The staff found him standing in ankle-deep water, proudly claiming the heater had worked too well. The best part? He demanded a refund because, quote, "The hotel didn't warn me that melting could occur." Sir, that's like buying a candle and suing when it turns into wax. 2. The DIY Safari Disaster. A couple from Ohio once decided that guided African safaris were a scam. Why pay thousands, they said, when we can just rent a Jeep and explore ourselves? Fast forward 12 hours, and they were surrounded by lions, sitting quietly in their vehicle, Googling how to assert dominance in the animal kingdom. Their plan was to drive slowly so the lions would think we're chill. The park rangers eventually rescued them after spotting the couple trying to lure the cats away with granola bars. Their review later said, "Wildlife seemed aggressive, would not recommend," because apparently the lions didn't follow proper Midwestern hospitality rules. 3. The Submarine Airbnb. Some tech bro thought it would be epic to rent a decommissioned submarine off the coast of Norway on Airbnb. He wanted the full James Bond experience. What he got was 3 hours of panic when he realized submarines don't come with windows. He spent the night convinced he was sinking every time the hull creaked. The kicker? He left a 1-star review because the Wi-Fi didn't work underwater. The host replied, "Neither does your brain." It's the perfect metaphor for modern travel. We'll spend $800 to sleep in a metal coffin just to tell Instagram how authentic it felt. 4. The Great Volcano Selfie Expedition. Some tourists hike mountains for the view, others do it for the obituary. A man in Indonesia decided that a live volcano was the perfect place for a selfie. Ignoring the warning signs, the fences, and the literal smoke coming out of the earth, he climbed down into the crater, just for a better angle. His friend filmed the whole thing, narrating like a nature documentary. Here we see the modern traveler, risking death for content. Within minutes, his phone melted, his shoes started smoking, and rescue teams had to haul him out while he shouted, "It looks safe on Google Maps." The man later told reporters the real tragedy was losing his phone. It had like so many good pictures. Nothing says wanderlust like almost dying to prove to strangers online that you too have no sense of self-preservation. 5. The RV that forgot. Physics, a retired couple from Florida rented an RV for a cross-country trip, armed with optimism and zero mechanical understanding. Somewhere in Colorado, they hit cruise control, left the driver's seat, and started making sandwiches. Turns out they thought cruise control meant autopilot. The RV gracefully exited the highway, through a fence, and into a cow pasture, coming to rest beside a very confused herd. When police arrived, the husband simply said, "We assumed it would steer." "Ma'am, this isn't the Starship Enterprise." The insurance report listed the cause as unfounded faith in technology. They later wrote on Facebook that the scenery was beautiful until it came through the windshield. 6. The Paris Protester. One woman from Nebraska decided to visit Paris to see where the revolution happened. Which one? She didn't know. The old one, with the wigs. She arrived during a modern-day protest, saw people waving flags and shouting, and thought she'd stumbled onto a live reenactment. She started cheering, taking selfies, and yelling, "Vive la liberté!" before realizing she was standing between riot police and tear gas. She later complained that the actors were too aggressive and left a 1-star review on TripAdvisor for ruining the vibe. France survived multiple revolutions, but apparently it couldn't survive Karen from Omaha and her historical confusion. 7. The Airbnb in a war zone. An aspiring travel blogger booked the cheapest Airbnb in Europe without reading the details. It was in an active military zone in Eastern Europe. When he arrived, the host, wearing camouflage, greeted him with, "You really came?" The listing photo showed rustic bunk beds, which turned out to be literal army cots in a bomb shelter. The blogger still posted about it, calling it a raw, immersive experience. He even uploaded a YouTube video titled "Sleeping Through Air Raids, 1010 would recommend." Tourism officials begged him to take it down. He called it guerrilla marketing. Technically true, just not in the way he meant. E8. The cruise ship genius. A man thought cruise ships were too expensive and decided to DIY his own voyage. He bought an inflatable pool, an electric fan, and a cooler full of snacks. Then he floated out into the Gulf of Mexico, calling it the affordable cruise for introverts. 6 hours later, the Coast Guard rescued him 3 miles offshore, sunburned, dehydrated, and proudly insisting he wasn't lost, just exploring. When asked if he'd do it again, he said, "Next time I'll bring sunscreen and a stronger fan." Humanity keeps inventing smarter phones, yet somehow dumber travelers. 9. The bungee jump. That wasn't a thrill seeker in New Zealand decided to try bungee jumping but wanted to save money. Instead of booking with a certified operator, he found a local guy on Facebook offering discount bungee adventures. The equipment was a rope from a hardware store tied to a bridge railing with duct tape. The man leapt, the rope stretched, and it snapped like a cheap shoelace. Luckily, he landed in shallow water and survived, but immediately tried to sue the guide for emotional distress. When reporters asked why he trusted a stranger on Facebook with his life, he said his profile said adventure professional. Somewhere, Darwin quietly took notes. 10. The Great Camel Commute. An influencer from Los Angeles decided that riding a camel across the Sahara would be aesthetic. She didn't realize the desert isn't an air-conditioned studio. It's, well, a desert. She packed 4 outfits, 2 ring lights, and a drone, but forgot sunscreen and water. Within 2 hours, she was crying, sunburned, and begging her guide for a power outlet. When the guide reminded her that camels don't have USB ports, she said, "Then what's the point of them?" She posted one glamorous photo before being evacuated with heat exhaustion, captioned, "Sahara vibes totally worth it." Locals later reported she'd accidentally started a small sandstorm by trying to use her drone for wind effects. There's something poetic about traveling halfway across the planet just to prove you've never opened a geography book. 11. The Great Wall Pizza Guy. Some tourists bring water and walking shoes to China's Great Wall. One American man brought a Domino's pizza. He wanted to eat something epic on something ancient. Halfway up the steep climb, he realized there are no trash bins, tables, or shade, just 2,000 years of stone and regret. The cheese melted, the box disintegrated, and the local guide nearly had a meltdown. He complained loudly that they should really have delivery up here, as if the Ming dynasty had failed him personally. When the guide tried to explain the historical significance, he just shrugged and said, "Yeah, but it's not even that tall." He left a 1-star review saying, "Would be better with more restrooms and Wi-Fi." Humanity conquered gravity, but will never conquer our craving for fast food and entitlement. 12. The Alaska Camper Crisis. A family from Texas rented an RV to see the northern lights in Alaska. They didn't check the season. It was July. They spent 2 weeks camping under 24-hour sunlight, waiting every night for the darkness to start. Locals politely tried to explain that the midnight sun isn't a metaphor. It's literally daylight all night. The dad refused to believe it, insisting the tour companies were hiding the lights to drive up prices. They finally left after realizing their generator was attracting every mosquito in the hemisphere. Their parting words? Beautiful state, but false advertising. Alaska didn't respond. It was too busy spinning on its axis, doing what it's done for 4 billion years. 13. The Santorini Wedding Disaster. A British couple dreamed of a small romantic wedding on the cliffs of Santorini. But instead of hiring a planner, they relied on TikTok and positive energy. They forgot to book permits, chairs, or even food. When they showed up, another wedding was already happening at the same spot. They tried to merge ceremonies, resulting in a chaotic mashup where 2 strangers accidentally said "I do" to the wrong partners. The police were called, the minister fainted, and the bride's mother was last seen throwing her bouquet at a Greek goat. The couple later said it was memorable, but admitted the universe sent mixed signals. If love is blind, travel planning is legally insane. 14. The GPS to Nowhere 3. Friends in Nevada trusted their GPS more than common sense. It told them to take a shortcut to the Grand Canyon, straight through a dry riverbed. They followed it for hours until their car sank into mud and sand miles from the nearest road. When rescuers asked why they didn't turn back, one replied, "The GPS said it was only 12 more minutes." 12 hours later, they were rescued by helicopter, still holding their phones and blaming bad service. One of them even asked the pilot if there was a better route for next time. The Grand Canyon has swallowed rivers, civilizations, and, apparently, human logic. 15. The Tokyo Capsule Complaint. A businessman from New Jersey booked a capsule hotel in Tokyo, expecting a trendy luxury stay. He arrived, saw his sleeping pod the size of a dishwasher, and called the front desk demanding an upgrade to a regular human-sized room. When they explained that the entire concept is the capsule, he threatened to call the embassy. Later, he was seen dragging his luggage through the lobby, muttering that Japan's hotels are built for cats. Ironically, he posted a furious Yelp review from his phone, while still lying inside the pod. It read, "I felt trapped like luggage on a plane. 0 stars. Congratulations, sir. You just missed the point of minimalist travel and cultural exchange in one night." 16. The Budget Everest Climber. A college student decided climbing Mount Everest was too expensive, so he invented his own budget version in Colorado. His plan? Hike a local mountain in flip-flops with an oxygen can from Amazon. He brought trail mix, a Bluetooth speaker, and 0 actual gear. Halfway up, a rescue team found him wrapped in a beach towel, wheezing into his oxygen can like a vape. When asked what his plan was for the descent, he said, "I was gonna Uber." The story went viral when he tagged the rescue helicopter on Instagram with the caption, "Doc Summit Life." The post got 10,000 likes and a $12,000 rescue bill. Somewhere, Sir Edmund Hillary looked down from history and whispered, "This is why we needed gatekeeping." 17. The Bali Coconut Lawsuit. A tourist in Bali filed a legal complaint against a beach resort because a coconut fell near her chair. Near, not on. She claimed emotional trauma from witnessing gravity in action. The resort pointed out that coconuts grow on trees, a known hazard of nature. She replied, "Then maybe they shouldn't grow them above people." She spent the next week demanding the staff remove dangerous fruit zones while sipping coconut water. Eventually, she left a review warning others that Bali has coconuts everywhere, very unsafe. Locals still use her story as shorthand for tourist logic. When nature doesn't cater to your comfort, sue it. Somewhere, a palm tree probably dropped another coconut out of pure spite. 18. The Glacier Bikini Shoot. An influencer flew to Iceland to do a bikini photo shoot on a glacier. Her plan: stand on an iceberg for contrast. The problem? Icebergs float. Within minutes, she was drifting away into the freezing sea like Elsa with poor Wi-Fi. Tourists on shore watched in horror as she waved her phone, yelling, "Get my good side." The Coast Guard rescued her, wrapped in a blanket, and still trying to finish the caption, "Feeling icy, chiar frozen queen." Officials politely asked her not to attempt fashion survival stunts again. She nodded, then uploaded the photo with the tagline, "Almost died for the gram, but totally worth it." Humanity invented fire, agriculture, and flight, just to make this possible. 19. The Amazon Rainforest Wi-Fi Complaint. A couple booked an eco-adventure deep in the Amazon. They were expecting hammocks, wildlife, and some good content for our travel vlog. What they got was humidity, bugs the size of toasters, and, the horror, no Wi-Fi. They demanded a refund, arguing that unplugging wasn't part of the description. When the guide explained that they were 200 miles from the nearest router, the husband said, "Can't you just boost the signal?" They spent 3 miserable days complaining about primitive living conditions, while surrounded by one of Earth's last untouched ecosystems. When a monkey stole their granola bars, they called it robbery. Back home, their review read, "The jungle is overrated. Poor connectivity." Darwin would have loved them as research subjects. 20. The Venice Luggage Swimmers. 2 tourists from Germany refused to pay for a water taxi in Venice, calling it a tourist scam. So they tied their suitcases to their waists and tried to swim across the Grand Canal. Within minutes, they were tangled in ropes, dragging Samsonite anchors through boat traffic while gondoliers filmed and applauded. Police pulled them out near a dock, soggy but defiant, claiming they were just taking the scenic route. They were fined $500 for illegal swimming, then tried to argue it was performance art. Their final review of Venice: too wet, too many boats, locals not supportive of fitness travel. Somewhere, Marco Polo rolled over in his grave and said, "You're not explorers, your soup ingredients. 21. The Safari Selfie Stampede. A family on safari in Kenya ignored every rule, including don't get out of the vehicle. Why? They wanted a better selfie with the elephants. The mother posed with her back turned while the teenage son yelled, "Closer! They look small!" Moments later, the herd charged. The guide screamed, everyone scrambled, and the dad still tried to film it for insurance evidence. The family survived, their camera didn't, and their first question afterward was, "Do we get a refund?" Their TripAdvisor review called it too stressful and suggested the park train the elephants to be friendlier. The elephants, somewhere in the bush, were probably still laughing. 22. The Machu Picchu Marathon. A fitness influencer thought hiking Machu Picchu wasn't challenging enough. She wanted to run it. Despite guides warning that high altitude would kill her enthusiasm or her lungs, she sprinted up the ancient steps in full neon gear. 10 minutes later, she collapsed from altitude sickness, gasping that her Fitbit was lying. Her followers later praised her authentic suffering, not realizing she'd been carried halfway down the mountain by two horrified guides. When she recovered, she posted a teary video saying, "Pain is temporary, but likes are forever." Somewhere, the ghosts of the Inca were face-palming so hard it probably registered on the Richter scale. 23. The Northern Lights Rager. A group of college friends flew to Norway to party under the Northern Lights. They packed speakers, glow sticks, and an industrial generator, because nothing says respect nature like a rave in sub-zero temperatures. Unfortunately, the aurora didn't appear on command. Instead, they spent 6 freezing hours dancing to EDM under a cloudy sky, occasionally shouting, "Maybe it's behind that one." Locals found them the next morning, frostbitten and furious, claiming the government turned off the lights to save power. They demanded a refund from nature and left a 1-star review. "Too dark, no vibe, Norway should fix this." The irony? The aurora appeared the next night, while they were on the plane home, still arguing about who forgot to bring extra vodka. 24. The Haunted Hostel Honeymoon. A newlywed couple booked a mystical retreat in Romania that turned out to be a crumbling hostel marketed as Dracula's cousin's castle. The bathroom was shared, the lights flickered, and the owner dressed like he'd lost a fight with a thrift store vampire section. The bride sobbed, the groom tried to fix the power, and both swore they heard whispering from the walls. The owner later admitted it was just the plumbing. They fled after one night, leaving behind half their luggage, and a scathing review calling it the worst honeymoon since the Titanic. Ironically, the hostel went viral thanks to their post, and the owner renamed it Haunted for Real. Bookings tripled overnight. Love may die, but marketing survives eternal darkness. 25. The Florida Glacier Experience. A man from Miami booked a glacier tour in Argentina. Upon arrival, he complained that it was too cold. He wore shorts, flip-flops, and a t-shirt that said, "Sun's out, guns out." When the guide offered him a jacket, he refused, claiming cold is a mindset. 10 minutes later, he slipped, fell into the snow, and demanded a refund for weather discomfort. He then accused the tour company of false advertising because the brochure didn't say the glacier was wet. Locals now refer to him as Senor Shorts. When the story hit social media, he doubled down, posting, "Don't let negative energy stop your vibe. I survived hypothermia with confidence." Confidence may keep your spirits warm, but it won't thaw your frozen ego. 26. The Eiffel Tower Picnic Crisis. A couple from Chicago dreamed of having a romantic picnic under the Eiffel Tower. They didn't realize the grass area was closed for maintenance. Undeterred, they set up their blanket, right in the middle of a roundabout. Horns blared, scooters swerved, and they raised their champagne glasses as if they were in a perfume commercial directed by chaos itself. When police arrived, they acted shocked. "We thought it was allowed." There were no romance signs. Their charcuterie was confiscated, their wine poured out, and their baguette rolled away in the traffic. They left Paris muttering about how unfriendly France has become to love. Because clearly the problem was Paris, not their complete disregard for traffic laws. 27. The Underwater Hotel Misunderstanding. A businessman from Ohio booked a submerged resort in the Maldives, envisioning something futuristic, glass tunnels, ocean views, the whole James Bond fantasy. What he didn't realize was that underwater suite meant literally underwater. The first night, he called the front desk in a panic, screaming, "There's fish outside my window!" He spent the rest of the trip drawing the curtains, claiming he didn't like being watched. At checkout, he asked if they could move the room above sea level next time. The staff politely nodded while probably adding him to the Hall of Fame for misunderstood luxury. The man later reviewed it as claustrophobic, moist, and unholy, proving once again that expensive travel can't buy basic comprehension. 28. The Sahara Beach Day. A group of influencers organized a beach-themed photo shoot in Morocco's Sahara Desert. They brought surfboards, floaties, and beach umbrellas, but forgot that the Sahara has no ocean. They spent hours posing in 120-degree heat, pretending to catch waves in an ocean of sand. One fainted, another's makeup fused to her face, and their inflatable flamingo melted into a puddle of pink goo. Locals watching from afar thought it was performance art titled "Idiocy in the Dunes." When rescued, they thanked their driver for saving the aesthetic. Their final post read, "Beach vibes are a mindset." Yes, and heat stroke is a consequence. 29. The Canadian Summer Mix-Up. An Australian man planned a summer road trip across Canada. Unfortunately, he didn't check which hemisphere he was in. He arrived in January armed with sunscreen and flip-flops, only to find temperatures hovering around 30 degrees CC. At the airport, he loudly asked where all the beaches were. Locals pointed to a frozen lake. Determined to make it work, he tried to sunbathe anyway, in a parka borrowed from a confused stranger. His vacation photos look like a survival documentary narrated by regret. He later told a reporter, "It's weird, everyone said Canada was nice, but they never mentioned the frostbite." Somewhere in Sydney, a geography teacher quietly cried. 30. The Mystery Meat Adventure. A self-proclaimed foodie on a world tour decided to eat whatever the locals eat in every country. In Thailand, that meant street food. He ignored every warning about avoiding suspicious vendors and proudly bought something sizzling on a stick labeled only as mystery meat. He filmed himself eating it, declaring it deliciously authentic before spending the next 48 hours bonding with a hotel toilet. Later, he learned the meat wasn't meat at all. It was grilled tofu mixed with chili oil and cricket paste. He called it a scam, even though the vendor had clearly told him, "Vegan special." The irony? His video went viral among vegan communities for his emotional reaction to flavor. Sometimes karma doesn't bite, it burps. 31. The Arctic Spa Experience. A wellness influencer booked what she believed was an authentic Arctic spa in Finland. The brochure promised natural ice baths, which she assumed meant cold but cozy. Instead, she found herself standing beside a hole carved into a frozen lake, while a Finnish guide handed her a towel and said, "Jump." She screamed, "Where's the hot tub?" The guide replied, "You're standing in it." Determined to impress her followers, she dove in and emerged 1.7 seconds later sounding like a car alarm. Her camera crew caught every shriek as she ran barefoot across the snow yelling, "I'm ascending." Locals applauded her commitment to shock therapy. She called it a near-death awakening. Her Instagram caption later read, "Sometimes healing hurts. A lot." The spa reposted it with a new slogan, "Come freeze your soul and your selfies." 32. The Forbidden Temple Dance. A yoga teacher from California visited an ancient temple in India and decided the sacred courtyard was perfect for a sunrise flow. Ignoring multiple "no photography" signs, she set up her tripod and began twirling in slow motion to Enya. Locals gathered, horrified, as she performed what she described as an offering to the universe, which the temple staff described as a dance battle with God. Security escorted her out mid-warrior pose. She tearfully complained that spirituality shouldn't have rules. The next day, she posted a video titled, "Banned for Being Too Zen." It got 1 million views and zero understanding of cultural boundaries. Somewhere, a monk probably whispered, "Namaste?" But no. 33. The Swiss Cheese Cliff Hike. Two friends backpacking in Switzerland wanted a picturesque picnic spot. They chose the edge of a 2,000-foot cliff because the lighting was insane. To celebrate, they opened a bottle of wine and some local cheese, which immediately rolled off the ledge. In a heroic reflex, one friend lunged after it and nearly followed. Rescuers later found them clinging to a ledge, still arguing over whether Gruyere was worth dying for. When interviewed, one said, "We weren't being reckless, we were being European." The Swiss emergency team disagreed, billing them $8,000 and handing them the surviving slice of cheese as evidence. The men ate it in silence, proving that stupidity, like cheese, always comes full circle. 34. The Ancient Ruins Hotel Review. A tourist couple in Greece stayed in a boutique hotel built beside ancient ruins. Upon checkout, they left a furious one-star review claiming the property is falling apart and needs urgent renovation. The owner replied, "Those are 2,500-year-old walls." Undeterred, the husband insisted the cracks didn't look professional, and his wife added that the columns were dusty. Their review went viral, sparking a national debate about whether stupidity should be taxed. The hotel later printed their comment on postcards and sold them to amused guests under the slogan, "Experience History, Freshly Unappreciated." The couple never realized they'd accidentally insulted Western civilization itself. Some people visit Greece for philosophy, others come to critique the Parthenon's paint job. 35. The Everest Queue Complaint. A wealthy tourist paid $75,000 to climb Mount Everest, then complained that it was too crowded. Standing in line at 29,000 feet, he reportedly muttered, "I paid for solitude." He later told reporters it felt like waiting for a roller coaster, but colder. When asked about the life-threatening altitude, he said, "It wasn't the oxygen, it was the customer service." After surviving, he left a scathing review online. Scenery was great, staff unresponsive, long lines. Nepal's tourism office printed his quote for their safety posters with the caption, "Everest, not Disneyland." It's comforting to know that even at the roof of the world, human entitlement can still find enough air to breathe. 36. The Safari. Drone Disaster. A tech vlogger brought a $5,000 drone on safari, determined to capture nature up close. He ignored every rule and launched it near a herd of zebras. Within seconds, a lion pounced from the brush, snatched the drone midair, and proudly carried it off like a metallic chew toy. The vlogger chased it yelling, "That's property damage!" The park rangers later found the mangled remains beside a very satisfied lion. Instead of learning a lesson, he uploaded the footage titled, "Lion Attacks My Equipment, Gone Wild." It became his most viewed video ever, proving that stupidity not only survives the food chain, it monetizes it. Somewhere, David Attenborough sighed in disappointment. 37. The Great Barrier Reef Tantrum. A family from New York booked a scuba tour at Australia's Great Barrier Reef and demanded guaranteed dolphin sightings. The guide explained there were no dolphins, only coral. The father scowled. "Then what's the point?" When they finally dived in, the mother panicked, screaming, "It's full of fish!" She resurfaced, demanding a refund for being startled by nature. Later, they complained that the coral was broken and the fish were rude. Their review, "Too wet, wouldn't recommend." Locals still tell the tale every summer as proof that tourists are the most invasive species on Earth. Somewhere beneath the waves, a clownfish probably rolled its eyes and said, "Humans ruin everything." 38. The Hot Air Balloon GPS Fiasco. A couple from Texas booked a romantic hot air balloon ride in Turkey. They brought snacks, a Bluetooth speaker, and for some reason, a GPS. Halfway through the flight, the man panicked when he noticed they were off route. He tried to help the pilot by shouting, "Turn left," as if steering a balloon were like driving a minivan. The pilot calmly explained that you can't steer wind. The man disagreed and began waving his phone around, claiming he could sync directions with the breeze. Eventually, he dropped the phone, straight onto a sheep farm. When they landed, he demanded the pilot go back and get it, saying, "You've got a balloon, just reverse." Locals now call him the human compass. Somewhere, the Wright brothers are whispering, "This is why we built planes." 39. The Cursed Cruise Talent Show. A retired couple on a Caribbean cruise decided to perform at the ship's talent night. Their act? Hypnosis. Their victim? The captain. During rehearsals, they accidentally put him under and couldn't wake him up for an hour. Chaos ensued. The ship drifted off course, alarms blared, and the first mate had to steer while the captain sat motionless, whispering "moo." The hypnotists later claimed it was part of the act. The cruise line disagreed and banned them for life. The couple proudly posted the video online, titled, "We Hypnotized a Ship." It racked up millions of views and won international investigation. The moral? Never combine senior discounts, sea air, and stage magic. 40. The Amazon Jungle Spa. A wellness retreat promised guests deep spiritual cleansing in the heart of the Amazon. One influencer misunderstood and showed up with a literal exfoliating scrub and cucumber mask, expecting a spa day. Instead, she was handed a machete and told to help clear a trail. She lasted 45 minutes before demanding Wi-Fi and room service. When told there were no rooms, she screamed, "This isn't a spa, it's a forest!" The shaman leading the retreat gave her sage to burn. She used it to swat mosquitoes. Her review later read, "Too earthy, not enough detox." Locals still call her Senora Sephora. Somewhere, Mother Nature took a long sip of river water and said, "Unsubscribe." 41. The Japanese Robot Hotel Meltdown. A man obsessed with technology booked a night at Japan's famous robot-staffed hotel. He was thrilled until the robots didn't understand his accent. He spent an hour arguing with an automated check-in machine that kept repeating, "Please rephrase your question." Furious, he yelled, "I want to speak to a human." The machine replied, "Humans are unavailable." Later that night, his robotic room assistant mistook his snoring for a command and turned on the TV at full volume. He stormed to the lobby demanding a refund, only to be greeted by a robot dinosaur receptionist. The next morning he wrote, "It's the future, and it hates me." Japan didn't respond. The robots probably filed it under customer noise. 42. The Pyramids Parking Incident. A tourist from New Jersey rented a car in Cairo and decided to drive right up to the pyramids for a better photo. Ignoring barriers and guards, he managed to wedge his rental halfway into the desert sand, directly in front of one of the 7 wonders of the world. When officers arrived, he insisted, "I'm a history buff." They fined him, towed the car, and escorted him out while he shouted, "There should be more signs." Later, he told the press, "Egypt needs better infrastructure for influencers." Archaeologists worldwide sighed in unison. The man's photo, featuring his stuck sedan beside 4,000-year-old stones, went viral with the caption, "Man adds 8th wonder, the idiot." 43. The Scotland Loch Ness Complaint. A tourist couple from Florida visited Scotland hoping to see the Loch Ness monster. When the weather turned foggy, they demanded the hotel turn the monster on. The staff politely explained that Nessie isn't an attraction you can schedule. The husband grew agitated, insisting he'd flown 4,000 miles for this and wanted his monster experience. The wife complained the lake was too gray and not spooky enough. They left a furious review saying, "No monster, total scam." Local newspapers picked it up, dubbing them the Americans who tried to Yelp review mythology. Meanwhile, boat captains began jokingly announcing, "Nessie's off shift today, folks." It's a sad day when a mythical creature has higher customer service standards than its visitors. 44. The Dubai Sandcastle Lawsuit. A man from London visited Dubai and built an enormous sandcastle near his luxury resort. When the tide inevitably destroyed it, he stormed to the concierge and demanded financial compensation for architectural loss. The staff explained that the ocean was not under hotel management. He insisted, "Well, someone controls the tides. Call them." He even filed an official complaint, valuing his creation at $3,000 based on artistic labor. The incident became local legend, with beach vendors nicknaming him Sir Sandalot. Somewhere, Poseidon himself probably rolled his eyes and muttered, "This is why I stopped doing customer service." 45. The Antarctica Fitness Challenge. A fitness influencer bragged about completing the world's coldest morning jog in Antarctica. She flew in with zero experience, a matching yoga set, and an attitude that could melt ice. Within 5 minutes of running, she froze her eyelashes together and had to be carried back by researchers. When asked why she hadn't worn proper gear, she said, "I wanted to keep it natural." Her video, titled "Frozen But Fabulous," hit 2 million views. Scientists used her story as an educational case on hypothermia and hubris. Somewhere, a penguin probably watched her sprint by and thought, "Humans really are an endangered species." 46. The Mount Rushmore Graffiti Artist. A tourist from Italy thought Mount Rushmore was a modern art installation and tried to add his own contribution with spray paint. He got as far as the letter M before security tackled him. His defense? I thought it was interactive. The court fined him heavily and banned him from U.S. parks for life. When interviewed, he said, "In Europe, art invites collaboration. In America, it invited federal prison time." The next week, souvenir stands started selling t-shirts reading, "I didn't tag Mount Rushmore." Nothing unites a nation faster than a foreigner vandalizing its presidents. 47. The Hawaii Volcano Yoga Class. A wellness coach organized a lava energy yoga session near an active volcano in Hawaii. Her followers were promised heat, power, and primal connection. What they got was an emergency evacuation when the wind shifted and molten rock started raining from the sky. She refused to leave at first, saying, "The Earth is embracing us." The local ranger shouted back, "The Earth is trying to kill you." When she finally fled, she called the eruption a cleansing experience. National Park Services just called it Tuesday. 48. The Transatlantic Kayak Dream. An adventurer from France wanted to kayak solo across the Atlantic to prove limits are an illusion. Unfortunately, so was his plan. He packed protein bars, a GoPro, and one paddle, and set off from Portugal. 12 miles later, he was rescued, dehydrated, and furious that the ocean was against him. Reporters asked what went wrong. He sighed, "I forgot how big it was." His journey lasted 6 hours, but inspired thousands, mostly Coast Guard personnel, to update their Idiots at Sea handbook. And that's it. Proof the dumbest travelers don't need passports, just Wi-Fi and bad ideas. Which one wins?